In this video, we're going to be talking about how to multiply and divide simple fractions. Let's take a look at the rule for multiplying fractions. It's pretty straightforward. We are going to multiply the tops of the fractions. We call those the numerators. In this case, 2 times 1. And we're going to multiply the bottoms of the fractions, the denominator, 3 times 4. And we're going to create a new fraction. So let's see how that looks in this case. We set up our new fraction, 2 times 1 on top, 3 times 4 on the bottom. Then we simplify. 2 times 1 is 2, 3 times 4 is 12. And then finally, we want to take a look at reducing that fraction if possible. 2 and 12 can both be divided by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 12 divided by 2 is 6. That leaves us with 1/6 as a final answer. Let's take a look at dividing fractions. Now, we want to actually use multiplication when we divide fractions. And the way that we can do that is to flip the second fraction and then multiply instead. We call that the reciprocal when we flip it, but we can just think of it as flipping. So what we're going to do when we change this problem to multiplication is we're going to keep the 2/3 at the beginning. We're going to change division into multiplication. And then we're going to change 1/4 into 4/1. And then multiply as we normally would. So that becomes 2 times 4 on the top of our fraction and 3 times 1 on the bottom of our fraction. We simplify that and we get 8 divided by 3, or 8/3. Now we can't reduce that because there is no number that can be divided into both 8 and 3. So that would be our final answer. Let's take a look at a few more examples before you practice on your own. So once again, we're going to multiply. These are all multiplication examples. We're going to multiply the tops and the bottoms and reduce if possible. So 3/4 times 1/2, 3 times 1 on top, and 4 times 2 on the bottom. We simplify that to 3/8. You can jump right to the second step if you're comfortable with that. And then we take a look at this. Can we reduce that? No, we cannot. We just talked about how we cannot divide any number into both 3 and 8. So that cannot be simplified. Let's take a look at the second example. 5/2 times 2/4. 5 times 2, I'm going to jump right to that next step and do the multiplication. 5 times 2 is 10, and 2 times 4 is 8. Now, these are both even numbers, which tells us that this can be reduced. They can both be divided by 2. 10 divided by 2 is 5. 8 divided by 2 is 4. And there's our final answer, 5/4. One more example for multiplication. 3/9 times 2/3. 3 times 2 is going to be the top of our fraction. That is 6. And 9 times 3 is 27. Now, these are not both even numbers, but we should also try to divide by 3 if we can. 6 divided by 3 is 2. And 27 divided by 3 is 9. So there is our reduced fraction for that problem, 2/9. All right, let's take a look at some division problems. We're going to flip the second fraction and multiply. So what I would suggest in this, if you're not comfortable with this, is to rewrite it. And you could use a whiteboard while taking a test to do this. We're going to convert this into 3/4 times 3/1. Remember, we're converting division into multiplication. So now we just multiply normally. 3 times 3 is 9, and 4 times 1 is 4. There are no numbers that go into both 9 and 4, so that would be our answer, 9/4. Let's convert this one to multiplication. We always write the first fraction. Just rewrite it. That's not going to change. It's going to be 5/2 times, and we take the inverse of this, or the reciprocal, 3/1. Flip it over. 5 times 3 is 15. 2 times 1 is 2. Now, there are no numbers. We cannot divide both the top and the bottom by 2 or by 3. So that is our final answer, 15/2. One more. 3/9 divided by 1/5. 3/9 times 5/1. We kept the first fraction the same, 3/9. We turned it into multiplication. We flipped the second fraction. 3 times 5, 15. 9 times 1 is 9. We challenge ourselves to try to reduce this fraction. Both of these can be divided by 3. You divide both the top and the bottom by 3. 15 divided by 3 is 5. And 9 divided by 3 is 3. Now, just one reminder, if when doing these problems, you ever end up with a number over itself, like 15/15, your answer is just 1. Any number divided by itself is 1. Just a reminder, because that will occur in some of these problems, and it will occur in your practice problems as well. Another example of this might be 15/3. That reduces to just the whole number 5. That will happen as well. Sometimes when you multiply or divide fractions, you will end up with whole numbers. So just be aware of that. All right, that's it for this video. It's time for some practice on your own.